Welcome to the RSP Boiler Room. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. This week, Cedrick Wilson, wide receiver out of Boise State. A lot to like about him. He's tall, 6'3". He's fast. He can definitely beat people in the vertical game. He can track the ball well over his shoulder. He can win and beat defender ankles underneath. He can get up for the ball in the air. He can make tight coverage plays, and he's a very good kick returner. So, primary option for Boise State, productive player. A lot of promise for the NFL, right? It's certainly going to look that way, especially after the combine, I think, when he has a good showing with his 40 time and some of his agility drills. I think we'll see some positive things there. But what's holding him back from being a primary receiver in the NFL? Because there are some things that are going to hold him back. We're going to show you some of the good and then one of the major flaws that Cedrick Wilson has as an NFL prospect. It is correctable. It's something he's going to have to work on and become diligent at, but I think there's promise here. So we're going to give you a chance to see the good, the bad, and the promising of Boise State's Cedrick Wilson. Let's start with the promising. Actually, the good. We're going to work upfield here. You're going to see decent separation, make him make this catch. It's kind of a catch where he clasps the ball to his pads. But I want you to notice something. Watch how the defender chops at his arm right here. See that reach for the arm? That prevents Wilson from being able to go up and make an active hands catch. And what I mean from an active hands catch is when you have your fingertips pointing skyward and your palms to your thumbs together so that you can raise your arms over your head and make the catch. You can't do that because the arm gets chopped away right here. And as a result of that, he's just kind of have to go with the flow and track that ball. And then he brings his arms up in terms of what's the natural movement after getting chopped. And now he can turn in and he makes a catch with good technique, with good, lower hands technique. But he raises his hands up and he just adjusts to the situation. And he's able to use his fingertips and then pull the ball to his upper chest, still make the play where he's getting wrapped and come down in bounds, get 2 steps in bounds, and even a third possibly there. So this is a really nice play. At first, when I watched it, I thought, well, I don't like that he used low hands technique. But that chop really disrupted his flow, and he had to make the adjustment. It's a really fine play. And it just shows you a little bit about his concentration and his ability to go with the flow as a vertical threat when he's dealing with physical play. There are also strong elements for him as a route runner. You're going to watch him come off the line here. He's at the top single right. See how he's got his pads over his knees? This is a good sprinter's release here, and they know he's got speed. You've got the defender playing off coverage here at about 5 yards. And while what I like is that this is going to be a double move. He's going to sell this working to the inside if it's going to be a slant or tip to the post, and then come back outside, and then late in the route fade to the boundary. Now, the defender's expecting a deep play already. You got a safety playing deep too. But the defender's playing, as if this is going to be a deeper route, and he sells the deep route immediately. But what he does is he kind of twists it up a little bit because he raises his pads high. I've seen enough of Cedrick Wilson to tell you that when he runs a shorter route, his pads stay low until maybe a yard from the break point. So what he does is he sells that he's making a shorter break, works to the inside, hard plant to the outside to break inside, and then that defender is now more sold on the shorter route. And then it's Wilson that goes right by him. And you can see how fast he is just up top here to get outside, get past that defender, and then fade to the outside here. So let's watch it again. Now you're going to see a close-up of this play late in the route and see how he didn't go all the way to the sideline early on. Even though he ran a double move breaking to the outside with the second move, he doesn't immediately go there. So he owns all of the space. So as much as he has vertical separation, now late in the play, he can now access the horizontal space to get horizontal separation late too. And good job catching the ball with his hands over his shoulder, getting 1 foot in bounds. He's going to have to work on, his boundary awareness and boundary technique on types of plays like this so that he can drag a foot and get the second one in bounds. That's what's for the NFL game. But for right now in the college game, you can see the speed, you can see the manipulation with being able to tell a story on a double move and owning that flat so that he doesn't get pinned to the sideline too soon. So he gives his quarterback time to throw the ball and a good area of space to throw it accurately, and the margin of error is a little bit easier for the quarterback. Here's another strong double move, and this is promising to me because it tells you a lot about what he can do physically as a route runner, even though he may not conceptually and technically have all the skills down to be a complete route runner just yet. And this is a double move as well. Watch him sell where he begins to bend at the knees and sit in that chair, and he looks inside. So he's selling that hitch, and that has the defender, again, playing off coverage, trying to take away the deep ball. It sells that defender to have to come up on this hitch because of the look inside and the dropping of the weight. Now, he has to learn to drop his weight on other types of routes, but I haven't seen him at Boise State asked to run a lot of comebacks or a lot of curls or a lot of dig routes at this point in the tape that I've seen. And I've seen, about a half a dozen games thus far, and I haven't seen a lot of that. So, in the NFL, he's going to be asked to do a little bit more. You can see that physically he's up to the task to do it based on this double move of selling this hitch, that he can drop his weight. He's just going to have to refine this in his game. And once he does finish that move, the defender now is at a disadvantage because of Wilson's acceleration. Wilson gets even with the receiver for a moment and sees that the ball's underthrown, is able to come back across and look at that adjustment. Get his hands underneath the ball. He's able to lean and work around a defender in tight confines. He's not distracted by the contact. He's not distracted by the body around him. He's able to make that adjustment. That's a fine play. That's a starter, NFL starter caliber play, whether you're a primary or secondary receiver. This is the type of thing you should be expected to do, especially that double move there. It's well done. I also like his adjustments to passes that are high. Here's a high target that's going to be thrown behind him. You can see that he's worked inside between the zone defenders. He's expecting the ball probably front or back shoulder, but maybe not so hot coming into his back shoulder where he's going to have to extend that far to make the catch. And it's away from the momentum of his break. Even though he's settled a little bit after he breaks inside, he's still moving inside as that ball arrives to his back shoulder. And so the fact that he can make that catch is a good sign that his technique on high point throws is pretty sound, and that he's got good hand-eye coordination. He's fluid. We've seen adjustments low. Now we've seen an adjustment high. He's not distracted by the fact that he knows he's going to be between two defenders and one's coming downhill towards him. It's a good job. And this is another good sign. You've got, ability to sell routes. You've got some potential for hard breaks, ability to adjust to the football, sound technique, ability to kind of adjust your technique on the fly. All positives for Wilson's game. But where that technique falters, and he's really just lacking in that department, is against press coverage. He doesn't really have a plan with his footwork or with his handwork, and you need to integrate both to defeat press coverage in the NFL. Right now, you're going to see him at the top of the screen, or you're not, but he's at the top of the screen, and you're going to see him in a minute, and this pass is going to be thrown, it looks like about 3 to 4 yards too far. And it probably was at least 2 to 3 yards too far in reality if you don't pin any responsibility on the receiver at all. But you can see on this play that when the broadcast angle comes into view with him, the defender's riding him up the flat. And he's also above the downfield shoulder of the receiver. That means right here that Wilson's plan to escape press coverage, there either wasn't one or it wasn't effective. And we're going to see this theme throughout the next several plays, that he doesn't really have a good plan, or he doesn't know how to execute a good plan at this stage of his game. And it's something he's going to have to develop if he wants to. And what's interesting is that I think he can develop it. You're going to see this play here. He's not even targeted on this. This is a run play, 1st and goal, but he's outside in the left, and you're going to see him use good, crisp, dramatic footwork to bait this cornerback to bite inside as he works outside on the fade. See that little plant? That forced that defender to, watch it right here. Hard plant, forced that defender to turn around. And it's that ability to do it with, that level of dramatic, effect. Being able to also use your head to kind of dip inside and sell that head fake a little bit. That leaves the defender paused here just enough to get outside. He's going to have to do this more often. We're going to see in a moment that his footwork isn't nearly dramatic enough. He doesn't sell the footwork enough, and he's got to learn how to do that as well as use his hands better. Here's a play. He's up top, single left, and you're going to see the dramatic plant step at the third step here. But I want you to note the 2 steps with the stutter at the footwork. It's just not crisp enough. It looks like he's just learning how to do this. I mean, look, I'm trying to do footwork drills just as a part of getting back into shape, and I'm learning how to do some of that. And he looks like me doing this yesterday. I mean, literally watch the 2 steps. It's just two little steps there. They barely are discernible. There's nothing really that he does to sell that. It's not that explosive. The defender's not fooled. He's being very patient. And that outside plant, there's just nothing that makes the defender lose his patience here. And a part of it is it's just not crisp enough. The defender's able to ride him up that flat. And while he's not targeted here, it's just another sign that, the footwork can get better. And this play really breaks down why you need to get early advantage with separation and use your footwork and get that separation within the first 3 to 5 yards of a play. He's down below. You're not going to see the footwork yet. You're just going to see the outcome of the play at first. And it's just a half step too far. Let's watch it again. See how the ball arrives just too far out of his reach. It bounces off of his outside arm. At first, it just looks like, well, the quarterback threw the ball too wide. But that's not the case. What happens here is that the receiver is, and we're going to slow it down so that you can see it a little bit more detail here. The receiver's going to run a 3-step release. He's got his first step, second step, third. And that's where his inside plant is. You can see it's not dramatic at all. It almost looks like he's still just running in a straight line. That was supposed to be the dramatic step. He was supposed to sell that. Maybe he could have used the head fake like he did before on the fade route that we saw. But it needed to be more violent, and it wasn't. And you can see where the defender is. The defender didn't bite to the inside at all. He's already leaning outside. And as he arrives to the outside, he's got the advantage here. If the defender had his shoulder still turned at this point, Wilson is going to be able to get a half step ahead of him. Instead, the defender is a half step ahead of Wilson. And as a result of that, you're going to see that the defender's able to get his hands out before Wilson can do anything with his inside arm. In fact, Wilson chops way too soon on this play, so he shoots his gun too early. The defender already gets his downfield arm into the shoulder. He's got his back arm onto the hand. And at this point, the defender controls the pace and the action on this route. If Wilson won with that footwork in the first 3 steps, he would be a half a step ahead of the defender, and he'd be controlling the pace and the action of this route. Now, he's playing in a defensive position trying to get away from this defender. So you get a shove, you get the defender who's holding him at the shoulder here a little bit. But see, you might say, well, the penalty should have been called. He got held at the shoulder. Sure. But the point I'm making here is technique-wise, if Wilson did what he was supposed to do, he wouldn't be in this position right now. He would be further ahead. It wouldn't look like hand fighting that was so close quartered. He would have been ahead, and if any defender grab with the receiver ahead would have looked like holding or interference. Instead, this is all happening kind of act and react, and the defender has the upper hand, and all of this push-pulling and him trying to work through this prevents him from really manipulating this inside break and then turning outside because the defender is over top and dictating. And now he's fully a half step behind with all this. And now the defender's even able to use his outside arm and bring it up under the forearm of the receiver and then kind of clamp down a little bit to slow down his release to the outside. And it doesn't look like a hold because that's a trick of the trade that you see defensive backs do. This is a very good technique by the defensive back because he's not holding. He's just kind of clamping the arm down. And the receiver is a half step away from being able to make this catch, and he only gets one hand on the ball. So let's watch it all the way through. 3-step, not very dramatic, misses the chop, defender's over top. Now he has to push off, defender's still over top of him, and just slows down the entire route. And this is because of those first 3 steps here. Not dramatic at all. That step, that's not a dramatic step. Let's watch it one more time here. That sells nothing. You've got to sell that better, or else the defender's going to have the advantage the entire time. The same is true of this play. Another fade route. You can see him at the top, single right on the screen. You're going to watch the footwork. It's not very dramatic of a plant inside. The defender is able to stay outside. He's not biting at all on any inside fake, and he just rides Wilson up the field. And then he's able to pin Wilson's arm, back arm, into his side at the end of this route. See how the arm is down because he couldn't even get it up over the defender anyway due to the defender's position, and he can only get one hand on the ball. The ball is accurate enough. It's the fact that Wilson could not get there on time due to the fact that he could not get early separation. And you have to get early separation on these types of plays, or else they don't work out. And here's another one that you're going to get to see. You're going to watch him single left, fade route, doesn't even use an inside. He uses a little bit of an inside lean. There's no real movement here. Doesn't try and use maybe a 3 or 4 step move in where he can, use his feet in a crisp, short, choppy manner to try and get the defender to bite inside. He just tries to work inside out with 1 step and chop, and the defender has just completely stopped him here, has moved him further outside. This throws off the route by about a half a step to a step. I mean, look where the quarterback's throwing the ball here. That's where the throw's about to be. Look where the defender is up top here, and he's able to get that position on the receiver and force him outside even more. Watch the beginning of this play again, and you'll see the defender really get that push. He's just moving him outside more and more rather than downfield because of the fact that he didn't bite on the inside move. There was really little inside move to show here. And as a result of that, watch where the ball winds up, because if the ball was thrown that early, it's thrown to the pylon. It's right there. But the receiver is only able to get his downfield arm on the ball and just touch it. And it's that 1 to 2 steps that he was unable to get because he was dealing with contact from the defensive back that prevented him from being able to get both hands on that ball. So, this is a lot about, Cedrick Wilson in terms of what he can do better. And you can see that there's evidence that he can run with good footwork. They can develop good footwork, that he can use a chop move. He's just going to have to do a better job of developing a better repertoire. Otherwise, you're going to see him more often as a crossing route receiver, as a go route and a double move guy. And those things are helpful. Same with screen plays and other work that you'll see from him in terms of, kick returns. But at the same time, if he's going to be a primary guy, or if he's going to be a reliable secondary starter, he's going to have to beat press coverage. And that's the thing that he struggles with the most right now. A lot of potential, but we're going to see how that develops over the next year or two in the NFL. Thanks again for watching. For more RSP Boiler Room videos, you can check out my YouTube channel, the RSP Film Room, and my blog, www.mattwaldmanrsp.com.